Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing this morning? Thanks for getting out of bed after Bruno Mars and cake. Did everyone have a good time at the show last night? Yes? Okay, good. Well, if yesterday was all about getting inspired and motivated by Mark and all the amazing visions we saw from some of our great customers and partners, well, today is that next level of detail for all of our products. And at Salesforce, we call today Product Keynote Day because it's your chance to hear directly from all of our amazing product leaders at Salesforce and the visions they have, fueled by all of our customers' ideas and innovation for our product lines for the coming years. So if we bring up the agenda for a moment, let's take a look at our product keynote agenda for today. We are all currently in Moscone West, as you all know, on the top floor, and we've got two parallel tracks going on for product keynotes today. Take a look. Along the top in halls A through C, that's the main product, or the main keynote room from yesterday. You can see it. Currently, we have the Marketing Cloud keynote going on. At 10:30, we have Sales Cloud. At 12:30, Service. And then at 2 p.m., the Salesforce One Platform keynote. And in this very room, obviously, we're starting with Wave, the Salesforce Analytics Cloud. And then at 10:30, we'll have the Developer keynote. Then Salesforce One Mobile, SMB at 2 o'clock. And we'll round it out with Community Cloud here at 3:30. And over in the Marriott at 3:30, we'll have the Data.com product keynote. So a packed agenda. There's one thing I have the honor of doing here on this stage before we all begin, and that is, of course, to present our Safe Harbor statement. We all know that you love this. Let's have a round for the Safe Harbor statement. If you have not read this or you're a bit tired to read it this morning after the party last night, let me just give you the gist. It states that Salesforce is a publicly traded company and that we may make forward-looking statements through the course of this product keynote or other sessions, and you should make your purchase decisions based on our currently available technology. Now, before we get started, I want to share with you a very brief film about some of the amazing innovation that's happening and that we're going to see over the next 15 minutes about Wave, the Salesforce Analytics Cloud. Let's roll the film.
Your customers are generating more data than ever before. What if you could transform the way your company collects, analyzes, and distributes this critical business data? Taking your CRM, ERP, and other silos of data and unifying it into a single view so you could begin to have conversations that improve your customers' entire experience. Salesforce Analytics Cloud revolutionizes the way you understand and refine new strategies around your business. Finally, sales, service, marketing, even back-office teams can get immediate insights without the need to log IT requests, helping them ask the right questions that uncover new opportunities to connect with customers, like which sales channels are performing best in each country, across each product, across each rep, how marketing pipeline is trending over time, how repeat purchases are related to customer satisfaction, and where case history and product usage data can improve product design gaps. Now, users get personalized self-service analytics with rapid and responsive filtering, visualizations, drill downs into every nuance, and a way to take immediate action like triggering a campaign. It's powered by a new, innovative Wave technology, and since it's built on the Salesforce One platform, it's cloud scale, secure, trusted, instantly mobile and up and running within days. And it's extensible through an ecosystem of pre-integrated data sources in the App Exchange. Telling a big story about your big data has never been easier. Drive your company's own data revolution with the Salesforce Analytics Cloud.
Well, I have to say, working with this team, let's have a round of applause quickly. I have to say, working with this team over the last 24 months, I have to say we really have the dream team working on this product line. And so it's my great pleasure and privilege to introduce our Senior Vice President and General Manager of Wave, the Salesforce Analytics Cloud, Keith Bigelow.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Good morning. Welcome. About 15 years ago, we entered the CRM market at a time when there were 4 dominant legacy players. They owned about 50% of the market, and we turned that market upside down. And if you wanted to kind of think fast forward to today, in the analytics market, we have 4 major legacy vendors that own the predominance of share in that market. And I think our investment community is over here. I'm making my first forward-looking statement. We're going to turn this market upside down. It is awesome. So speaking of legacy vendors, I should probably begin, come on, clicker, with myself as a boy at 16. This was my first car. And you might look at that car and go, wow, I bet you had a lot of action in that car. I did not. But when you look at that car, you think, there's no computer in that car. There is no GPS in that car. Trust me, there was no entertainment system in that car. And there was no app on the App Store for that car. There were no sensors on that car. And had there been sensors and had there been a cellular modem on that car, I would be in jail right now. So thankfully, cars have improved, but not before I was done with my youth. Today, we are looking at an interesting situation, an amazing situation, where every single automobile maker out there is putting a GPS into the car. It has 4 computers on average now. It has an incredible entertainment system that tracks how you use it. It has an app on the App Store so that your kids can check out the new car, maybe connect to it. My wife is here today. She's been bearing with me for 2.5 years. Thanks. Love you, hon. And we're looking at a car for my son, who's 16. And when I think of the changes that have occurred in this market, it is amazing to think how much information there is that we can share and know about our customer that we never could know before. And I think I want that radio modem turned on. I want to know exactly what my son is doing in this car. And I want State Farm to notify me before he goes to jail. If we kind of pull forward a little bit here, it's not just automobiles. Yes, State Farm has an app, I run it. Bank of America has an app, I run it. They can track my behavior, see what parts of the app are interesting, and they can make the app better as a result. Further, all the social media that we have today is an incredible source of information for us to understand our customer sentiment and to optimize on that. And then, like the car that my son will probably never have, there is 50 times more data going to be available to us by 2020 about product usage. This is going to help us build better, safer cars. It's going to help us build better, well, financial services aren't necessarily unsafe, so I'll just say better financial services. And that provides us with an incredible opportunity to know our customer better. But like my automobile, that first automobile, our legacy BI vendors were designed at the time that I was 16 buying that car. They were designed for small sets of rows and columns, simple structured data. But how my son uses the car or the entertainment system, or how your customer, because this is happening in all of your industries, is using your application and learning from it, is lost. Because what they want to do is have you know them and actually make great marketing offers at the point that they want those offers. They want to be proactively served with a notification, hey, we noticed this sensor's running hot. Let us come check it out before there's a failure. And of course, your sales team would love to be able to go, I see the portfolio of products this individual is using. I know which product to suggest next. And so, 2.5 years ago, when Alex Dayon asked me to come to Salesforce, we thought, what if we reinvented analytics as Salesforce? What would that mean? What could we do? And that project became Project Wave, which is quiet. It was supposed to make a really killer sound like lightning yesterday. I apologize. And Project Wave for us was an opportunity to reimagine this market. Reimagine it for every single employee, to make it available to them in an ideal form factor, the device that's always with them, the phone. We didn't create this for an 11 by 17 piece of paper. or buy an 8 and 11 piece of paper and then try and shove it into a tiny phone. So it's phone first, it's tablet first. Of course it runs on your browser. And then finally, it's an open platform. We wanted to bring in all that data from day one, all the structured data from Salesforce, from SAP, you name it, but also all of the behavioral, all the sensor data, all of the indicators that would help us know our customer better. And from a user perspective, it's not those line of business users alone. We wanted to reach every analyst and help them to get through the application backlog for analytics faster. We wanted to reach our Salesforce admins and allow them to bring in new data and secure it safely and in a secure and scalable fashion. And developers were critical to us, and we have a great ecosystem of developer partners. But that's the way that we're going to embed analytics and extend them in any new application that we have. So to give us a better sense of just what this is all about, I would like to introduce you to GE. GE Capital was one of our earliest design partners for this product. I'm grateful that they helped us so much. Their team is here today, and we'll hear from them in just a second. But to give you a better sense, a double click on how GE sees the opportunity, I'd like to introduce Stephanie Buscemi, our head of product marketing.
Thank you, Keith. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here. I have the pleasure of talking to you all about GE Capital. And GE Capital is a very special customer to Salesforce. And not only are they a special customer, they are amazing to their customers. They are one of the most customer-centric companies I've ever seen. They make it a focus across their entire organization to have a wing-to-wing view of all of their customers and all of their customers' operations. And as a financial services company, they do this in a globally compliant way, and they do it with an eye on growth. Many people would think GE Capital are bankers, but they're not. They're builders. They're builders of new business. They just don't focus on banking. They're builders of new business. And I have the pleasure of telling you their story. Today, I'm going to be Jackie. And Jackie is a global relationship manager at GE Capital. So as Jackie, I will tell you it's quarter end. It's super stressful. I think a few of you out here in the audience have been through quarter end. So much fun, so intense. And I have a couple really big deals that I need to close in the next couple days. And I have a secret weapon for doing that, the Salesforce Analytics Cloud. So let me show you. So right here, I go into the Salesforce Analytics Cloud, and I do that right off of the app picker, right off of Salesforce. It's right there for me. And I go in, and right there, I have all of my accounts, and I go right into my Brunswick account, because I have a meeting with a company called Brunswick Corporation. This is my big deal I've got to close. And Brunswick, if you don't know them, is a leading manufacturer of luxury yachts and boats. Some of you might have seen one of their beautiful yachts yesterday, and maybe myself on it. But they're an amazing company, and they see me as a strategic partner to them and helping them uncover new business opportunity. So I go right in here into Brunswick, and what I've got here is my data sets. I have all the information I need to run my business with Brunswick. Remember the days of just having your account information? Remember ACT and Vantiv and like the days where you just had your account information, like the telephone number? I've got all the information I need here. And when I say all the information, I don't just mean Salesforce data. I have third-party inventory data coming out of ERP. I have unstructured data. I have social data. I have product sensor data. I have all of it at my fingertips. It's not with my analyst or IT, it's with me to work with. I have my lenses, which are my views, my ability to explore the business. So I can just explore all the data on my own, and there's no risk there in doing that. And I have my dashboards. My dashboards are really what I use to run my business, really drive my performance as well as my customers. So let's get into that Brunswick dashboard and see what's going on. Aha! I told you I have all the information, and right here I have a single customer-facing view of Brunswick. I always ground myself in what are my total sales. Where am I at today on my revenue number, on my credits, and on my debits? I can see all that, and I can go over and I can hover over on the sales. I can see by every product line exactly. And this isn't a static chart. It's moving as I'm looking at those sales. And I'm able to also see the third-party consumer spending data. This is my chance to go into Brunswick and tell them where the market is headed. Where is the propensity to buy? I have that information right there. And I have my inventory data coming from SAP. Aha, I see something quite interesting here. The C-Ray inventory is strikingly low for Brunswick. I don't know why. I work with them on financing boats. And I've never seen it this low, and I certainly don't want it to be that low because I want them to do financing with me on all their inventory. I wonder what that is. I look at the sales on C-Ray, and I see that they're trending up. There's a good story to tell here. I know it, but I need to get more data. I'm able to go right in and explore on that social data. Take a look at that. I have 100 million rows of data right at my fingertips. Again, nobody's doing this for me. I'm the relationship manager. I own the relationship and the information. I'm able to go right into this and explore this data. I want to go and look by industry. I want to get right into luxury boats. I want to look at it by accounts. And then I want to look at it by product line and see what's going on. Aha, here is a key insight. I see that C-Ray Boats has a ton of conversation going on out in the social stratosphere. I love social media. Remember years ago we had something called word-of-mouth marketing? But we couldn't track it. With social media, we can track it down to the very minute. It's fantastic. So I see that there's 2 million social media mentions on C-Ray above all their other lines. It gets me thinking. I bet you Jay-Z and Beyonce just got that boat. Or could it be a part defect? I need to know this before I go into that meeting and tell them they need to finance more C-Ray inventory. So I'm going to go ahead and look at that information. I'm going to add the sentiment so I can really understand. Voila. C-Ray is white hot in the market. The sentiment is fantastic on them. This is great. And I can look at this on however I want to look at this information. So I can look at it in a stack chart. I can look at it whatever way that I want, and a pie chart. The wonderful thing here with the Salesforce Analytics Cloud is it lets the data tell a story, and you can pick the view that speaks to you and your customer. So I'm going to use this pie chart, but I'm just going to take the summary view of it. And what I can do is I can now clip that information right there, and I can drag it right back into my dashboard. Again, I'm not dragging a static chart. I'm bringing all that data over with me. I now have a single view to go sit with Brunswick and talk to them and have a meaningful discussion. I'm late for my meeting. Shall we all go together? Let's head to Brunswick. I arrive at Brunswick, and I bring my iPad. I have all my presentations from my iPad, and I show them from my iPad their dashboard. I bring up the dashboard right through the Salesforce Analytics Cloud. And the beauty of it is that everything that I had on my desktop is not just limited to my desktop. I have it right here on my iPad. I can look at all of the information with them. What's amazing is they love it. We hand it around the room. We look at different angles of the business. We have a really great data-driven discussion. I'm not a vendor to them. I'm not a salesperson to them. I'm a strategic partner to them. And at the end of it, they say, we need to finance a lot more C-Ray boats to the tune of $100 million. Yes. I'm going to close that quarter. Mark my words. So we have a fantastic conversation, and before I'm trying to leave there, they tell me not so fast. We need that dashboard. We have to show everyone in our organization that dashboard. I don't run down the street or have the admin make copies or paste it into a PowerPoint. I give it to them right there. I'm able to easily take a snapshot of it, and I'm able to send it to them right there, and I can annotate. I can easily just circle for them, where are the places, where did we get those key insights around the inventory and the sentiment? And because it's such great news, I want them to know it's SASE approved. I send this off to them. Their CEO and the team gets it. They see the power of the Salesforce Analytics Cloud. So my work is not done. Remember, I said it was quarter end. And I've sent this off, but I now have another meeting to go to. So I switch from my iPad because I jump into my taxi and I get on my phone. And because I do all of my business in Salesforce, right there from my phone, I can go into my chatter feed. I go right into my chatter feed, and I want to see what's going on. I update my Brunswick account, too. I go into Brunswick. I want to notify my boss right away that it's done. 1 and done. I have closed the deal. So the account record's updated right there with Brunswick. And I'm looking back in that chatter feed, and I see a congratulatory note. Congratulations, Jackie. You are 100% a quota. But, ooh, they've sweetened the deal. They have sweetened the deal in a big way. If I can get another 10 million in before quarter end, I get to go to Hawaii. And I was married in Hawaii, and I have an 8-year-old who loves Hawaii, and God darn it, I'm going to Hawaii. So I got one more deal to close. You know how I'm going to do that? I'm going to leverage those same customer-facing dashboards and take that to Tesla. So I quickly let my Salesforce admin know, can you update all my luxury account records and put those same customer-facing dashboards there? And because it's so easy to do in Salesforce, and because she's a rock star, she says, super easy, Jackie, I did it in seconds. So right from my phone, not back at my desk, not waiting for a Wi-Fi in a Starbucks, I go right into my Tesla account record. And everything I've always had in that account record is there, my information, but this time I have that customer-facing dashboard right there. And I'm able to see all the information that I had for Brunswick, but relevant for Tesla. So before we were talking about Sea Rays, beautiful luxury yachts and boats. Now we're talking about the Model D. Has anyone seen the Model D? It's absolutely insanely beautiful. But they don't have enough Model D in inventory right now. So I'm able to have that same conversation with them and show them that they need the Model D to finance more. Let's just say they close a huge deal financing on the Model D, and I crush the quarter. Hey, Keith, I'm off to Hawaii.
Awesome. So what I'd like to do now is introduce you to Eric Johnson, who, hey, good morning. Great.
Morning.
Vice President of Commercial Sales at GE. Give us a sense of what your business really is about.
Well, GE Capital, we're a global financial services company. We operate in 50-plus countries. We have over 40,000 employees. And at the end of last year, we had over $500 billion in assets on book. And we go to market in 2 separate ways, right? The first way is we have global verticals. So what the global verticals are is real estate, commercial aviation, and energy financial services. They're global P&Ls that cut all across across all countries. But in the commercial leasing and lending space, our businesses that primarily target the middle market, where we're really the builders, not the bankers, right? We go to market more regionally focused. So those are the guys that do everything from forklifts to corporate jets to total balance sheet recaps.
Great. And when you saw the Analytics Cloud, what kind of problem were you trying to solve?
Well, the big thing there is it was really a business problem that brought us to the Analytics Cloud. So the first one is in some of the platforms, right, in particular inventory finance and accounts receivable financing, what our customers wanted, the big customers, they wanted us to follow them into their emerging markets. So they wanted the same products, the same services that we provided in the established markets in these emerging markets. And one of the problems was, as I mentioned a little earlier, we're pole-focused, we're region-focused. So the first thing we did was we created a Salesforce.com hub org that ripped pertinent information from these regional orgs because we have to transact in the region that we're in, right? And we pulled it into this hub org to provide the global relationship managers with a view of what was going on with their customers. So something we had never had before as a business. And right out of the box, standard Salesforce, you get your point-in-time reporting. They had their pipelines, they had their meetings, they had everything else at a global perspective. But what they didn't have were some of the insights that they wanted to get moving forward.
Cool. And what were you able to do as part of the pilot?
Well, the first thing there is, as I mentioned earlier, right, we are a global financial services company. We are highly regulated. So we needed to cover off on security first, right? That's first and foremost. If we don't solve that, it's a non-starter right from the beginning. It's dead on arrival. So with regards to data privacy, data security, banking secrecy, being global, we had to make sure we architected the application to make sure that everything was compliant. So, and what we really liked about Wave was it's set right on the Salesforce platform. So what that means is the role hierarchy, the sharing rules, the field level security, I didn't have to replicate that, right, in a third-party tool. It was just naturally there. The second thing was it's on the stack. There's no data in transit. Picture big data center, this room, right? There's one rack of servers, which is Sales Cloud. Right next to it is the rack of servers that's Wave. Right? So there's no data in transit, there's no encrypting of ETLs and crazy stuff like that. It's within the data center. And then the final one is, as I mentioned, we're a financial services company. So we have a tokenization strategy. So what this means is critical information that we deem as confidential to our company, we store on our side of the firewall. Right? And in Salesforce are tokens, but via the vendor that we had selected, when the users log in, the GRMs come in via our domain, right? It's transparent to them. But it's a very complex security model. So Wave had to work within this space. So it was a little challenging initially, but once we got our rhythm together and once we understood what was going on, within a week we had everything up and running. Right? And it was pretty solid. So we really covered off on security first. Then the second one was very often in GE when new initiatives occur, we didn't want to have a big footprint, right? So I didn't want to have to purchase all of a sudden a CDW, build one, get a third-party tool, get some business analysts, create a ticketing system for the GRMs to submit their reports in there and stuff like that. We just didn't want that. Right? We wanted to have a really thin client that was fast and nimble, which led us into, right, the real problem that we wanted to solve, right, was we wanted to just totally obliterate, right, all the inefficiencies in our current analytics process. Right? And we wanted to do that first in this global hub org for HQ and then pollinate it down into the poles and into the verticals. So what this means like today, right, and we like to think we're really advanced and sophisticated in analytics, but the process to get to the answer, right, is wrought with inefficiencies. So what I mean by that is when you see a market event occur, let's say a bank acquires another bank, right, there's going to be covenants that get busted. There may be positions in the bank group. So what we have to do is we have to download our data from CRM into a cube, right? Then we take other data, third-party sources, right, download that into the cube. Other third-party sources could come into there also. We spend a ton of time cleansing, then re-cleansing the data. We run our initial analysis, realize we had missed something, need to pull in some more data, cleanse it again, right? And so then eventually we get to the answer, right? And then we go, oh, now we got to populate that answer back into CRM to drive commercial action, right? So we don't want to do that, right? So the brilliant piece about Wave is by having the analytical engine sit on top of the transaction engine, right? That enabled us to really just obliterate that process. So now, what we call analytics to action, right? A market event could occur, we're analyzing the data, and then right from there, we're getting that answer back out to the reps in the field, right? Where they can action it, which is what it's all about. Just getting to the answer really doesn't cut it. It's getting that answer in the hands of the reps in the field so they can action it.
Awesome. And what are the early reactions or aha moments that you had?
Well, the big one was, I've been doing this for quite a while, and we actually use Brunswick data to work through, we don't even call them dashboards anymore, we're beginning to call them analytical flows, right, because of the way that the tool operates. So via the analytical flow, right, we're able to say, okay, here's something that we need to drill into a little bit, right? Let's take a look at pipeline trending over time, right? In standard Salesforce, you have to torture analytical snapshots to get there. Right now, you just put it into the Edgemart, and it works, right? So that cycle time, so that trending over time, taking a look at cycle times, then going into, okay, what are our conversion ratios? What's our yield over time? What's the trending? And then getting into lost deal analytics. We're able to do that almost now as fast as I talk to you about it, right? With Wave, right? And when we demoed this to the rep, right, the global relationship manager, for the first time ever, I said, I wish I had this tool yesterday. Right. I was with the senior leadership team. We were talking about conversion ratios. Why are we losing deals in certain areas? What can we do to mobilize around it? And instead of talking about macro level concepts, we could have had the data right there and drilled right into it. And one thing I do want to add is, we made a conscious effort to make sure that we focused on the rep, because the power of this tool is you could create really cool reports for management. Right? And that's not what this is about. They're going to get their reports. Right? What this is about is combining Wave, right, with the transactional engine of Sales Cloud, right, with the mobile capability, right, to put the power of analytics, right at the rep's hand at the point of sale. Right? And that's what it was all about, and that's what we're pretty excited for.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So another one of our customers and co-development partners that worked with us was Blue Cross Blue Shield, not in financial services, in healthcare, a market that has been radically changed over the last couple of years. And they wanted to bring in not only Salesforce data, but start to bring in behavioral data, because as the Affordable Care Act hit their market, they saw a transformation happening, and they wanted to change how they did business based upon every last bit of data that was available to them. So to introduce you to Blue Cross Blue Shield and the team there, sorry about that. I was going to bring up Stephanie again. The pieces that were most important to them, just to go through this clearly, were optimizing the operations with those new data types. So the behavioral data from their phone switches, as well as the customer relationship data. They wanted to identify and invent new metrics so that they could actually figure out their best employees and then model their whole org around it. And they have always had a data-driven culture, and so this was a perfect fit. So now I'd like to introduce you, Stephanie.
Thank you. Okay. So you might have last known me as Jackie, but now I'm here to talk to you all about Blue Cross Blue Shield, a fantastic customer as well. And I'm going to play the role here today. And I'm going to play a special role here, so I'm going to be leading as Sandra acquisition integration at Blue Cross Blue Shield. And I just want you to know, I've been doing this job for a decade at Blue Cross Blue Shield. I'm privileged to do this job because I get to work with everyone across the company and everyone in the newly acquired companies. And so today is no different. We recently acquired a company called NextCare. They are a regional healthcare provider. And I'm actually en route to meet with them in one of the call centers. So I start my day with my phone. I'm in transit. I've just left the airport. And I start right in my chatter feed. And right here, I have a note from Tim Fairchild. Tim runs all of our call center operations across North America. And he knows I'm en route to his Joliet call center. And he wants me to check out his call center performance metrics. He's trying to let me know, as one of the bosses, that it's looking pretty good. So I'm thankful that he sent that as I prepare for my meeting. I'm in my cab, and I can go right into that call center dashboard. Right there, I have at my fingertips all of the data related to the call center performance metrics. This is a huge thing at Blue Cross Blue Shield, the productivity on the phones. Standing right out at me from my phone, I can see the average call duration, and I can see that it's declining. That intrigues me because I know, doing this role, that Blue Cross Blue Shield has had an average 10-minute call duration for years. We sell the entire portfolio. We sell the medical, the dental, and the vision. So this is a little suspect to me, but I'm going to come back to it because I've got lots of data at my fingertips. I have all of the operational costs. I know all of the costs, so I can measure not only effectiveness, but the efficiency of our acquisition integration. And with a simple swipe on my phone, I'm able to look at all the agents trained. I have all the agents trained. I have all of the number of calls made. This is really important because I know with such a massive call center, that the number of reps trained is a really big indicator of call performance and revenue outcomes. But I want to get back to the other screen, and I want to look in on those operational costs a bit. What's nice is here, I can look at it across all the regions. I can see their California, I can see Georgia, I can see Illinois, whatever I want. But I'm actually going to drill in to the call centers because I'm heading to Joliet, and I want to know exactly what's going on in that Joliet call center. So right here, I have all the call centers at my fingertips, but again, maybe this view isn't the view for me. Maybe I want to look at it in a different way. I'm able to put that into a stack bar, and I can see it just how I want. And I can go through and quickly, right from my cab, I want to go into Joliet. What is going on in Joliet, the reps that I'm going to be with today? I can see what the total cost is of that cost center, and not only that, I can go by agent. I now have all the agents right there at my fingertips. How crazy is that? Thousands of people in the call center, and I can get from all the North American data down to the individuals that will be standing in front of my face in just a matter of minutes. But what I really want to know is their call duration, because we saw that big tank down. What's that all about? So I take a look, and I can easily group it and look at what they're doing on their average call duration. Some interesting numbers here. I know how I'm going to have my conversations. Some of them who are doing short call volumes I'll talk to and understand their strategies, how they're performing. And some of them who are on the long, I'll figure out what they're doing. But I've now arrived. I'm at the call center in Joliet, and I must get out of my cab and head into the office. We go into the office, and when I arrive there, that average call duration is still niggling at me and bothering me really bad. And so from my desktop, I bring up that dashboard. That very same dashboard I had on my phone is right here on my desktop. And I realized, thinking about it, that call duration decline started right about the time of the NextCare acquisition. I want to look at these by the two companies side by side. So I easily look at Blue Cross Blue Shield to try to understand the call volumes. Remember I said they spend 10 minutes on average on the phone? They do. They do portfolio selling. They sell the whole portfolio on the phone. Nothing has changed with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Tim is sending me this metric that they're being more efficient on the phone, but nothing's changed at Blue Cross. He needs to know that. But what's happening at NextCare? What's happening with our newly acquired folks? They're spending only 4 minutes on average on the phone. Why is this? Are these superstars? Are these superstar salespeople? Or did the acquisition integration go really bad and the morale is really down? I need to know. And the only way I'm going to know that is if I add the revenue and product data. And I can do that right on my own. We talked about the Salesforce Analytics Cloud and bringing in different data sets. But I'm going to do that right here with you. With a simple click of the button, I'm able to enrich that data set. And what I do here is I have telephony data here, but this could be any kind of data. So this could be product sensor data. This could be ERP data coming from SAP or anywhere. It could be social data. So right now I'm going to take those traditional telephony, CTI data, and I'm going to augment that with my Salesforce. So coming right in from Salesforce, I'm going to pick my opportunities. I want to look at my accounts. I want to look at each of my reps, my agents, and be able to look at that. And group them by opportunity. So right here, what you're seeing is that data set in a matter of seconds being enriched. This may seem trivial, but for those of us who have actually gone through this, how many emails would you have had to send for that data? How many weeks, days, months would you wait to bring all those data sets together? I now have the combined data set here right at my fingertips. So let's go look at that joint data set and see what we find out about that average call duration. I go back into my data sets, and I select on my combined. There we have it. I pick up my data set. I've got the combined information. I've got 17 million rows of data at my fingertips, and I want to ground myself back in what I already knew first. I want to put those two companies side by side, and I want to be able to look at those average call durations. And we have what we already knew here, which is NextCare's on the phone half the time. But this time, I want to overlay that revenue data. I want to see what's happening there with the revenue. I'm able to easily add the average sum there. Voila. There's an insight uncovered there. We see that they're selling half the amount. Their average per call is half the revenue. So here we are thinking making less calls is all better in these traditional call center metrics, but not what we're seeing here. It makes me wonder what they are selling. So now I'm able to easily measure, and I'm able to add the number of products sold. Aha! NextCare sells one product on average. They don't sell 3 products like the Blue Cross Blue Shield. Can you imagine the domino effect of that as we think about meeting our revenue targets with this acquisition? Can you think about the training implications? All of you do roles like that around your organization. This is a massive insight here. I want to take this and look at it by the regions, see if there's anything that comes out. And more than anything, I want to get this to Tim. Tim needs to be looking at the bigger picture. He needs to understand, he needs to change his training program. He needs to think about how he's going to shift those NextCare folks to be able to do portfolio selling. So I easily send it back to him in a post. I tell Tim as politely as I'm able to that he needs to get with the program and he needs to look at the bigger picture, and I send it off to him. What's great here, though, is as I prepare, I'm in that office with the Joliet folks, as I look at this and I prepare, I can look at it, I can go by region, I can move it over, I can look at charts by any different view that I want. The data tells a story. It's your story to tell. Make it work for you. Oh, I love the fluid movement. I think that's why we called it the wave. And it's fantastic. And guess what? There's no downside. There's no downside to this because all of my history is right there. Every single move, every single step I took for those who are sort of frightened by the data, it's right there. I have it. That is the power of the Salesforce Analytics Cloud. We saw how a company such as Blue Cross Blue Shield is going to a data-driven culture. And we saw how they're using data to uncover new performance metrics to run their business. This is what's making it possible for them to do that. Back to you, Keith.
Awesome. And I'd like to introduce you all to Jeff Nicola from Blue Cross Blue Shield. Good morning.
Thank you, sir.
Tell us what's going on in healthcare and how it's impacting all this ACA stuff and Blue Cross.
Well, first, I need to set the record straight.
Yes.
Yesterday, you told me we were going to do karaoke in this big venue, but
Let's.
yeah. Nevertheless, I think it goes without saying that there's been, you mentioned earlier in your presentation, industry turned upside down. Our industry absolutely has been turned upside down in the last few years. I've been in this industry for 15 years in B2C, and I can tell you that this has been the single largest business case study that I've ever been a part of. When I joined Healthcare Services Corporation, which represents the Blues that we had that nice logo up for earlier, in September of 2012, our internal sales staff was very small. And we, of course, engaged in a predictive exercise to see what consumer demand was going to look like, and realized very quickly that we needed to scale our organization and increase the size of that staff multifold. I'm saving the zinger for a little bit later. But nevertheless, we have seen significant changes across people, process, technology, metrics, finance. Everything's been turned upside down. So to put that into perspective, we've been doing business one particular way for about 75 years, and then all of a sudden, within a couple of years' time frame, everything absolutely changed. So think about this. If every legacy system that you had in your organization became obsolete in 2 years, what would you do? So
Have a party.
we'd have a great time. So it's been challenging, and while the Affordable Care Act has been great for millions of people across the United States, it has created some interesting opportunities and challenges for us.
Cool. And so when you looked at the analytics cloud, what were the opportunities? What were the things you were looking at?
I think when I think about the analytics period, I think of an optimization exercise. So for me, I was thinking about that on a macro and a micro level. The macro level was just our overall business operations. And for me, 3 particular metrics that I like to watch on a regular basis are cost per sale, distribution mix, and administrative expense ratio. And I think probably most folks in this room would as well. On a micro level, as Stephanie had mentioned, we've grown so significantly. Now, in preparation for this open enrollment period, we have increased the size of our staff 25-fold, and that is to meet consumer demand. So we've seen such a huge shift in how people wish to purchase that we've needed to keep pace. So if you think about it, when we started this venture a couple years ago at HCSC, we had enough people to put eyeballs on metrics for everybody. But when you grow 25-fold, that's no longer a viable option. So not only did we have a bandwidth issue, but we also needed very quick turnaround on information.
Great. And what are you hoping to learn next?
You know, let me back up for 1 second,
Please.
if I may. I didn't mention this to you when we spoke before, but finding the right analytic tool for my team has been an interesting kind of back office exercise. I happen to have a quorum, I think, on the insurance industry Six Sigma trained folks. So we've got black belts, green belts across the board as part of our support staff. I've also got people that have moved over from IT and built cubes, have done ETL work, and so on and so forth. So we had several interesting discussions behind the scenes on what tool we were going to select, and ultimately we landed on this. So it's a testament to the product itself.
Awesome, thank you. And how do you see things evolving? What's next? How are these analytics going to grow?
So obviously engage in optimizing our administrative expense ratio so we can still be a viable company. While we are a not-for-profit, we still need to make money and be viable. So that's the macro. On the micro, we certainly should be able to extrapolate information around who the most successful sales representatives are and translate that into our hiring processes as well. Stephanie mentioned training, absolutely. But hiring and making sure that we pull in the right people to begin with reduces our attrition, ergo increases our productivity.
Awesome. And what were those critical factors for the analytics tooling that you saw, just in closing?
Scalability for sure. As we saw, as I mentioned, growing 25-fold with the number of folks that are on the telephones for us. We absolutely needed to have something that could scale with us very quickly, provide very quick turnaround, right at your fingertip type information, pull together structured and unstructured data in a very streamlined way. And also, I keep going back to the Six Sigma guys on the team, guys and girls on the team, and something that is beyond Minitab, right? Those of you who are Six Sigma folks, I'm sure have been trained on Minitab, but also beyond certain other tools that we've used like SPSS, Clementine, SAS Enterprise Miner. This puts things right at our fingertips so we can make very strategic decisions very quickly.
Awesome, thank you so much. So what we heard from GE was the need to bring about data from all over the world with different regulatory compliance issues, bring that together in one central way so that their top global relation management team could actually reach out with a one-to-one discussion with each one of their customers and tap into the whole book of business with that customer to give them great guidance on how to build their business. And at Blue Cross Blue Shield, what we saw was an incredible opportunity to bring behavioral data and transactional data together. And all of this was made possible by the Wave platform. And where we really see the differentiators for this, what's important to us, is that immersive, intuitive experience, the ability to swim in the data and drill. So you saw Stephanie going over 100 million social media mentions and then 17 million transactions off of the telephony switch instantly. And that speed comes not from a rows and columns star schema. That speed comes from a native search engine approach to doing analytics. We wanted to look at how did the best, brightest companies in the world, like Google, scale, and not only scale, but provide an incredibly fast experience, and that's through an inverted index. And that's how we approached this analytics platform for you. And then finally, just as Eric Johnson was mentioning, it's about trust and scale in the cloud, and we made sure that every part of what we built was in every single data center worldwide, deploying thousands of new machines, so that we could provide all of you with safe, secure analytics with that time to value that we just saw from Jeff. So what I'd like to do now is introduce you to the founder of the Wave, Vijay Chakravarti, and Alex Dayon, my boss. Come on up, guys. To the F, please.
How are you, Keith?
I am good. So Alex, you were one of the early founders of Business Objects. Why don't you give us a sense of what were the trends like when you were building that product, and what were the assumptions that you had?
I think it's a very relevant question, because when we started Project Wave a couple years ago at Salesforce, we look obviously around the industry, and what struck me was that most of the players were kind of stuck in the 90s. I mean, Business Object was started in August '89, and the big disruption at that time was, if you remember, for those of you who were around in industry, was the capacity to put your data into a SQL data store, which was basically a place where you could query, and having a client-server architecture, which is to connect PCs to a server, which was a big revolution in the early 90s and was empowering users to access their data finally without having to go for an internal IT queue and ask for data. So that was the original vision. The challenge was obviously at that time you could manipulate so many lines of data because you were limited by the client processing capability. And you had to rely on so-called star schemas, because if not, you were entering into long-running queries or Cartesian products, which were queries where basically multiplying your data by the number of relationships. So that was the world at that time. So the vision was right, and you can see the vision still remains a big demand, but the technology was fairly limited. And what really struck me when we started Project Wave is the whole industry stay in that world. It's still about connecting a PC to a server, to extract data, and to have the PC do the data formatting. And we think clearly there is a need for reinventing that space. And that's where we are so blessed to have met the team that Vijay created in EdgeSpring, because they are really the core inside the Wave technology.
Awesome. Now, I'm thinking you weren't designing Wave, thinking client-server, maybe a Windows 3.1 machine was not your design point?
I think what's interesting is that we had the same vision that Alex had, in terms of everybody has the same vision for business intelligence, which is a vision of empowerment, essentially, right? The interesting thing, though, is what we observed a couple of years ago is we as consumers today already do a lot of decision-making using the internet, right? As a consumer, anytime you try to make a decision, you almost subconsciously use Google or something else to look up information. And when you take that and say, do you have the same quality of experience today in the enterprise, the answer is no, right? So that was kind of our starting point, is can you bridge this gap between our own experiences on the consumer side vis-a-vis what we experience on the enterprise side? And to take the approach then, like what would be the right approach to solve that problem, we made just two simple observations, but they combine in really interesting ways. The first observation is that if you were building a system of understanding, right, essentially, which is what Wave is, you would really today not design it the same way that a system of transaction is designed, right? A system of record keeping is designed. And so you design it more like a Google than like an Oracle. And so that was kind of the first part of it. The second part of it is the observation that modern computers are really, really, really fast. I mean, they can perform a couple of billion operations a second, and that means you can actually have this ad hoc question answering kind of approach. And as long as you engineer it correctly and you get the right data to the CPU at the right time, there's a lot of hard engineering innovation there. You can actually build a really compelling experience.
Awesome. So as part of this project over the last 2 years, the one place you hounded me constantly, Alex, was on platform. It was your biggest passion. Can you share with the team why?
I think platform is the DNA at Salesforce. That's where I think Salesforce has changed the game in the industry with having the first company to have an app store, by the way, with the App Exchange. Way before you had an app store on this device, you had an app store with Salesforce, because we do believe into the ecosystem. That's where the cloud is different. We want to be best of breed in what we do in the cloud, but we don't want to do everything. We want to rely on partners, and you can see when you step out of this door, we have partners already building apps on top of Waves. So having a platform is key to the cloud. It goes with the cloud. Having an API for everything is really the core value of how we look at building products at Salesforce.
Awesome. Now, Vijay, Eric Johnson gave a really painful description of the BI process at his company before Wave. And help us understand, how does the process of creating analytics actually change with Wave?
So it's interesting. I think what we early on observed was that whenever people built data marts or data warehouses, the dialogue between business and IT was a little strange. IT would go to business and say, okay, we're going to build you this data mart. Can you please tell us what questions you want answered off of this data mart? And business would look at them and say, well, if I knew all the questions that I needed answered in advance, then I would not need a data mart in the first place. So we felt like that was a little kind of strange kind of a discussion to have. So one of the core, underlying principles of the Wave platform is that it's essentially a schema-free, approach where the search indexes sit on top of key value pairs of data, and you really don't need to map to a specific schema. You just bring in the data in a very easy API, as all the partners have shown, as a set of key value pairs, and then you can ask pretty much any question on top of that. And that completely changes the process from being a waterfall, 6 months of schema design and iteration, followed by a few months of building. And then business is like, well, it's too late. I needed those questions, like a week after when I asked them. So that's what allows us to do a very iterative process of evolution of an analytical application versus a kind of top-down waterfall process.
Great. And just to kind of double-click on that, there's been some feedback saying, wow, it's really beautiful, but is it really all that differentiated? From a technology perspective, can you give us some concrete examples of why it's differentiated and how?
OK, I'll just give a simple example which kind of maps to the search stuff I was talking about. Let's say you're a retailer, OK? And you're selling both bottles of water and you're selling iPhones, a pretty common thing people do. The interesting thing is that a bottle of water can be described probably by 8 or 10 attributes, right? Whereas an iPhone probably requires, I don't know, 2,000, 3,000 attributes to describe it. And then when people try to fit these into traditional relational systems, they say, well, everybody gets, whatever, 50 attributes. And as a result, what ends up happening is bottles of water get a lot of sparse information populated there. And then, when you represent the iPhone, you lose a bunch of information. Like, somebody picks some 50 attributes out of that. And when it comes time for the business to understand critical questions like, okay, how many white iPhones did I sell in the Southwest region, they kind of pray and hope that color was one of those 50 attributes that somebody thought was important enough, right, in advance. And so in our case, because it's a search-like system, search systems don't say, oh, every document needs to have the same number of words. I mean, that would be crazy. So in a similar fashion, in our system, a row 1 could have 5 attributes, row 2 could have 5,000 attributes. We support jagged schemas very efficiently, and that, I think, is a critical difference. So that's just one small example, but that's an important example, I think.
Awesome. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a great keynote.
Not so fast. Not scripted. We have lots of gifts for all of you out here, but before you leave the stage, we've been talking about a wave, and we want you to catch a wave. Each of you have your own surfboard tattooed with your name on it, and it's our thank you to you for the product vision and the product that you've delivered here today.
That's awesome. Thank you.
So I need to carry that the whole day now.
El Presidente, Edgy, and KB.
That is great.
Awesome. This is great, thank you.
So as part of what Alex was mentioning, we are incredibly fortunate to have built this as a platform and have an awesome ecosystem. We have great ETL partners like Informatica and Boomi and Jitterbit, IBM Cast Iron. Huge thanks to all of you for supporting us on launch day. We have great system integration partners that not only have benchmark data, but industry knowledge that is unparalleled. We have predictive partners to help take us to the next level. And then we have ISV partners from the App Exchange that have already jumped on the wave. And before you go today, I think I would just make one ask. Explore the playground. You can go to the Apple App Store, download the app, really enjoy it, see all of our tracks. And as part of our appreciation, there's my crash. Our appreciation for you, we wanted you to have a little bit of celebration with us. Under your chairs, well, some chairs, we have 500 Tommy Bahama shirts, and then there's one lucky person who's winning a trip to Hawaii. So if you could, grab your coupons there. Aloha, thank you so much for coming. The winner to Hawaii, please come see me. That would be a really good idea. And the rest of you, redeem those shirts wherever you are. Thanks so much. Have a great show.